Hello, Governor. It's guise, nupefromdaville. We're here to talk about Doctor Who, Season 2, Episode 4, Lucky Day. But first, let me tell you a little story. When I was teaching, I taught social studies, history, and I always had a way of going in to the stories to tell my students what was real and what was fake. Now, a lot of times, most people don't know the difference. And a lot of times the legend grows so much larger than the truth, people believe the legend because honestly, it's probably more entertaining. And then they also had to understand that the story is told by the winner. Now, it doesn't matter if they won by an inch or a mile. If they're the winner, they get to retell the story. And in that usually comes embellishment. The sad part is, as I was talking to my students about the truth behind Christopher Columbus, they had the question, I was like, why didn't anybody tell us this? Why did we learn something in school, in textbooks, that wasn't true? And the answer is quite simple, really. In the great immortal words of Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. The thing is, sometimes the truth is so jarring to people that it has to be told in layers. And it's a sad, sad truth. When children are in 4th grade and they're told the story about Christopher Columbus and how he came and seemingly discovered a place that people are already at, that doesn't even faze you. How can you discover somewhere people already inhabit? When they got to 8th grade and learned the story again, if they were fortunate enough to be in my class, then I told them the real stories. And they were confused. Why does it differ so much from what they learned in 4th grade? And part of that is because in 4th grade, you're not ready to accept the dirty, filthy truth of who that man was and what he did. Sometimes I don't know if you're ready to accept in the 8th grade, but you're far more mature, older, and ready to start seeing the world for what it is. Now, that doesn't mean pull the blinders off and see everything exactly as it is. But now you're old enough to start having some questions. And if you don't have questions, then you're doomed to believe and live the life of whoever tells you the best story. Let's talk about it. Hello, Governor. This is guise, nupefromdaville, and we're here to talk about Doctor Who, Season 2, Episode 4, Lucky Day. Now, the Doctor and Belinda arrive on New Year's Day in London in 2007, and while they're trying to figure out how to get Belinda back home to the correct time, they run into an 8-year-old boy named Conrad. The Doctor offers him a coin. Conrad takes it and runs off to go tell his mom. The TARDIS disappears. His mom smacks him upside the head for always telling stories. No one believes anything he ever says. So I don't know if he's the little boy who always cried wolf or his mom's just an ass. She seems like she's an ass. Conrad happens to run into the Doctor again, this time with Ruby. And he wanders into a building where the Doctor and Ruby are after some aliens called the Shriek. The Shriek spit this little vomit, green goo, slam you, but that marks their prey. And they'll come back and get you whenever they get you. They live in a pocket dimension, and whenever they can get through the pocket dimension, they'll come here and hunt down their prey that they've already marked. So even if they don't get you today, they might get you in years, because the whatever vomit that they spit on you seeps into your pores, it gets in your bloodstream. So once you're marked, you're marked. But it just so happens that the doctor has a potion. He gives it to Ruby because she got marked. She says it's disgusting, but at least she's not marked anymore. The problem is a grown Conrad, he got marked. But the doctor and Ruby were able to defend the shriek. So there's no shriek to hunt Conrad, but he is marked. He sees Ruby going to get in the TARDIS. He takes a picture of Ruby, and then he has a podcast. And on his podcast, he put out the call that he's been looking for Ruby. He wants to talk to her. He wants to talk about the doctor. Ruby shows up to his door and goes on his podcast. They talk. They have a lovely conversation. He asks her out for coffee. Then he asks her out for dinner. And before you know it, they're dating. So it just so turns out that she decides to go on a little weekend get together, a little weekend holiday with him to the village that he's originally from. Now, over this time, Ruby has been talking to Conrad and telling him all sorts of stuff about her adventures with the doctor. She says that, she's kind of always on edge because so much happened with the doctor that she has a form of PTSD. When they're in the village, some things happen that makes Ruby think, finally, the other shoe's gonna drop, something's happening. She calls Kate at unit. Kate says, we can't see anything on the sensors, doesn't seem like anything's going on. Then next thing you know, the little village is being attacked by the shriek. And there's not one of them, but there's two of them. Now, Ruby had told Conrad about this, and he said that he had got marked, and she gave him the potion so that he could get rid of it. But then he turns around and tells her he's sorry. He never drank the potion. He invited this danger and these deadly alien killers to his village. Ruby gets on the phone, calls Kate. Kate dispatches a, unit there in no time. Come to find out though, Conrad planned all of this. It was a ruse. And the two shriek were his friends in suits because, Ruby had shown Conrad a picture of the shriek, so he knew what they looked like. He knew what they sounded like. She had told him stories about how they stalked their prey. And everything that he had told her, everything that she had told him, he used against her. Because really, he was part of some group called Think Tank. And they said the unit was fake and they were holding the people of Britain hostage. Everything that they were doing, they were working in cahoots with the government, and it was fake news. And they were diverting money from the military for threats that weren't there. It was all special effects. It was all fake. Problem was, ever since he had been a kid, no one believed him. He was what my children call butthurt. He even applied to work at unit. But he didn't get the job because Kate herself wrote on her notes, "Don't trust him." The thing was, he had told all this stuff, including telling Ruby that his mom was dead. Come to find out, he had 80,000 paying customers. And he was making lots, hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds through his podcast for people who wanted to believe. His mom wasn't dead. He had her a villa in the south of France. He paid all her bills. She was living comfortably. He even went so far as to have someone who worked for unit on the inside give him the information and post the names and addresses of all the people who work for unit. They released the security at unit so Conrad could break in. And Conrad actually knocked out one of the guards and took one of their guns and shot the dude who was helping him. Conrad's clearly sick in the head. So holding Kate and Ruby and everybody else at gunpoint, he wants them to talking to his GoPro, because he's live right now, and tell everyone that they've been lying. The problem is, we Whovians know they're not lying. And it just so happened they were moving the shriek that they had caught, the one who was trying to get to Conrad. They were moving him, and he was on the helipad on the roof. So Kate was like, oh, we lying? Cool. She opened the door and opened the cage to the shriek. And she said, you know, it's a good thing the doctor was not here because he would be stopping me right now. She's like, you think we lying? Have at it. So the shriek came out of there. Now Conrad's running all around, you know, he's shooting at the shriek, but it does no good. And then he's begging for them to help him. Now Ruby still feels a little sentimental and she wants to help him. And she finally, right before the shriek gets to him, she shocks it. But then the smug assholeness of Conrad, he's like, oh, that's your special effects? Where's the special effects? It's fake. And the shriek jumps up and damn near bites his arm off. Conrad ends up going to jail. And everything that just happened was streamed online, live. So people are more in line, I guess, believing again in unit, but the damage has been done. They called Ruby hashtag hot taser lady, but there's still a lot of people that believed and had no problem in believing everything that Conrad was saying, to the detriment of national security. Conrad's in jail and the doctor does show up. And you could tell the doctor's pissed because he hurt Ruby. He almost got her seriously hurt. But Conrad's still smug. And the doctor's like, okay, cool, puts him back in his cell. But it just so happens at the very end of the episode, Mrs. Flood shows up to let Conrad out because it's his lucky day. You know that I love my quotes. I only have two. One is from Jimmy Gomez. And he says that when fake news is repeated, it becomes difficult for the public to discern what's real. And the other quote is from Barry Levinson. And he says the public doesn't know what to believe anymore. We don't know what stories are supposedly true. This idea of fake news. We watch it on what you guess I call a split focus. It's half entertainment, it's half mystery. I'm calling this particular media therapy deep dive fake news. How can we determine what's real and what's fake anymore? And that's on us. Because if you think about it, it's our fault. You know, I remember a time when, and this is just me, I remember a time when I could remember like everyone's phone number. But now I'm so reliant on my cell phone that except for a few people around me who I call quite often, I don't remember anyone's phone number. My mother finally succumbed to the pressure and got rid of her landline phone, and she only operates off of her cell phone. However, her cell phone number was changed. She upgraded, got a new phone, new plan. Right now, if my life was on the line, I can't tell you her cell phone number. Because every time I'm going to call it, I just go to the last time I called her, I see her name, and I just hit the call button. I don't know what the number is. All four of my kids have cell phones. I don't know what a single one of their numbers is. I just scroll through my phone, hit go. Most of the phone numbers that I call on a regular basis are like that. I don't know the numbers. We rely on technology entirely too much. I love that when people get online and they listen to things and then they say, Well, you know what? I'm going to do my research. Or even better yet, they're having an argument with you, trying to have a healthy debate. But they don't know any of what they're saying. So they say, you know what? I did my research. Oh, did you? So you put the term in Google and then took whatever the top search said as gospel. That's not doing your research. How do you know that even what you saw on the top line is even valid? And that's the thing, you really question, what do any of us really know? Because that's something. To know something, what does that mean? Does it mean it feels right in your gut? Does it mean sounds good? Probably right. Does it mean the person who says it, you trust them implicitly? Because really, at this point, if it's a celebrity, if it's a politician, damn near you know that they lying. There's some people that will tell you that they lying, and you still believe it. And I'm not even gonna go down that road. So whoever you voted for, that's on you. Hashtag, I regret my vote. See, it was a FO day. You gonna F around and find out. But that's on you. How do you determine what's real and what's fake? What does that even mean to do your research? The thing is, even when you look up, and there are sources where you can get true and actual information. There's one, Snopes, that debunks things. You put in there and say, is this real? And allegedly, someone behind that website has done the research to say, no, this actually didn't happen. And the sad thing is now it's only going to get worse. With AI, things can be faked. People's voices can be faked. Their actual image can be faked. And depending on who they are, no one's going to steal my image or steal my voice. I'm not anyone. But big celebrities, big time people, depending on what somebody wants to use against you or get out of you, they can absolutely steal your identity. They've been stealing identities for years. But they take, your social security number, your phone number, all these other things to get something out of you. But nowadays, they can take your voice, your image. And it's all fun and games when we see it in a movie and they doing it on Now You See Me, or, the crew from the Fast and Furious, MI6 and Ethan Hunt and Tom Cruise and them. When they do all these things, it's like, oh, it's so fascinating. Until it happens to you. This story was particularly interesting because Conrad spread propaganda. He spread false news, misinformation on purpose. Because what he knows, what we all should know, but many times fall victim to, is that we are not a discerning public. And I don't want to say that people are dumb. Sometimes that shoe fits. People will hear sensational news and they will turn around and spread it, share it, tell it to someone else as if they were there. And say it loud. Wrong, just wrong and loud. So how do we get better? Yeah, everything I'm going to say right now sounds cliche. Do your research. What does that even mean? Social media, the internet, can be a wonderful place. But if you don't have any sort of discernment, if you don't have any sort of way to check that what comes out of your mouth, because that's what you're responsible for. What your little Twitter fingers type, that's what you're responsible for. If you don't have any way to check and make sure that what you're saying is truthful and factual, maybe you shouldn't be saying it. This is guise, nupefromdaville. Make sure that you share this post. Like it. Absolutely. Hit the like button. And leave me some comments about any time that you've had to deal with fake news or even spreading something that you later found out was untrue. What did you think about this particular story? And if for some reason you haven't hit the subscribe button, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Watch some of the other videos, some of the shorts. You might find something that's interesting to you. At any rate, every time I do this, I use this, but it's even more important to use this.